The scent of damp earth and decaying leaves clung to the cold air, wrapping around Mark as he stepped deeper into the forest. The sun's last rays flickered through the thick canopy, shadows stretching like fingers across the twisted roots and gnarled branches. He always found solace in nature, but tonight felt different. There was an unsettling tension, like a heavy blanket smothering the whispers of the wind. Mark had heard stories, of course. The locals spoke of dark encounters, things that go bump in the night and slip between the trees, things that dwell in the recesses of the woods. Shivering, he pushed the thoughts away, focusing instead on the crunch of leaves beneath his boots and the exhaustion tugging at his limbs. He had come alone to escape the city and clear his mind. But now the isolation sent prickles of paranoia crawling over his skin. As twilight descended, he maneuvered deeper into the heart of the forest, the path becoming less defined. A high-pitched shriek echoed nearby, causing his heart to lurch in his chest. Mark dismissed it as a bird, though its sound felt unnatural. He swallowed hard, quickening his pace, trying to ignore the feeling of being watched. When darkness fully enveloped the forest, he set up camp beside a wide oak, deciding he'd turn in early. As he lit the campfire, flickering flames danced eerily against the shadows, casting long shapes that seemed to flicker and twist. He couldn't shake the sensation that something lurked just beyond the light. With a wary glance over his shoulder, he settled into his sleeping bag, clutching an old pocket knife with a trembling grip. Hours dragged on. Sleep came restlessly, plagued by nightmares of whispering voices and shadowy figures. Each rustle of leaves made him bolt awake, eyes scanning the perimeter with rising dread. Suddenly, a loud crack sounded nearby, like a branch snapping underfoot. His adrenaline surged. "Is anyone there?" he called, his voice cracking. The forest answered with silence. Peering into the inky blackness, he thought he saw movement. Shadows shifted unnaturally, the shapes too fluid, too intentional. Ice slid down his spine. He grabbed a small flashlight and shone it toward the darkness, heart thumping as beams caught glimpses of twisted tree trunks, but nothing more. Mark told himself it was just his imagination running rampant. Yet, after a few more moments of tense silence, he laid back, hoping sleep would come soon. But then, just as he began to drift, a low growl reverberated through the night. Not a creature of the forest, but something deeper, more foreboding. It resonated in his bones, an ancient sound that brought forth a primal fear. With a rush of panic, he shot upright, flicking the flashlight again into the woods. Nothing, only darkness. He fumbled to extinguish the fire, adrenaline coursing through his veins. The shadows rippled as they engulfed his small sanctuary. Mark didn't think, he just ran. He could hear something behind him, low, guttural, impatient. The branches clawed at him, snagging his coat as he navigated blindly through the woods. His breath came in gasps, the pounding of his heart drowned out only by the sound of whatever pursued him. He stumbled, falling hard to the ground, the breath knocked from his lungs. And that's when he saw it. A figure, blacker than the night, silent yet palpable, standing at the edge of his vision. He crawled backward, the terror creeping in as he realized he had come too far into the woods, too far from safety. In that moment of stark terror, the figure moved. Not toward him, but back into the shadows. It vanished, but Mark knew. It was a predator, and he was its prey. Scrambling to his feet, he sprinted in the opposite direction, every nerve screaming for escape. He bolted through the forest, branches scratching at his face, his panting breaths matching the rhythm of hurried footsteps behind him. The creature was relentless, the growl growing louder, like a sinister laughter echoing between the trees. Mark burst through a dense thicket and stumbled upon an old, abandoned cabin cloaked in creeping vines and darkness. Desperation guided him inside, slamming the door and falling against it, breathless. He panted, straining to hear over the pounding of his heart. The growling continued, closer now, circling outside. As silence fell, he listened attentively, hand trembling on the rusty doorknob. It had stopped. Was it gone? Maybe it had lost him. But then he heard it. The sound of footsteps, not outside, but inside the cabin. The figure stood silhouetted in a doorway, its form shifting and monstrous, as if it had absorbed the very essence of the darkness around it. "You shouldn't have come alone," it whispered, a voice like cracking wood on fire, intimate and sinister. All hope fled, and Mark realized with chilling clarity he wasn't the one lost in these woods. The woods had always been its home. The air in the cabin thickened as Mark's pulse quickened. He could feel the creature's breath, hot and rancid, invading the space before him. He dared to glance back, heart hammering in his chest, and there it lingered, a terrifying vision composed of shadow and malice, its eyes glowing with a predatory hunger. "Please," he whispered, his voice barely slicing through the oppressive silence. "I just want to leave." The creature tilted its head unnaturally, a grotesque mimicry of curiosity, revealing jagged teeth that shimmered with gnashing menace. "Leave?" it echoed, the word a gravelly taunt. "You're not in charge here." It moved closer, and Mark felt an icy grip encircle his throat as dread washed over him like a tidal wave. The air thickened, making it impossible to breathe, as the shadows pooled around him, almost liquid in their darkness. He had no idea what this thing was, but he understood instinctively. It craved fear, and he was serving it with a full plate. In a frantic attempt at reprisal, he lunged for the kitchen counter, searching for something, anything, to defend himself. His fingers scrambled against the dull edges of a rusty meat cleaver, and as he hefted it, the creature snickered, a low, chilling sound that made his skin crawl. "Do you think that will change your fate?" it taunted, slinking back into the darkness. Mark glanced around. The cabin was closing in, the walls closing in as he grasped the cleaver. Somehow it felt feeble against the lurking horror before him, yet it was all he had. Perhaps it was foolish, but in that moment of paralyzing fear, he became acutely aware of his own mortality. "Leave this place, whatever you are," he shouted, surprising himself. The sound echoed back at him, garbled by the shadows. He felt it, the shift of energy, the gust of wind that felt almost like laughter. "Leave. The woods won't allow that." The creature's voice danced in his ears, slithering through the cabin and mixing with the wind outside. "You didn't heed the warnings, did you?" Nostalgia twisted in his gut as he recalled the stories of the woods he had brushed off as mere folklore. Now they buzzed through his mind like a swarm of hornets. Tales of wayward souls, lost to the dark corners of twisted trees and unyielding earth. "Please," he hissed again, panic flooding his rational thoughts. "I swear I won't disturb you anymore. Just let me go." The creature flickered into view once more monstrous than before, the scars of old curses marring its form. It edged closer, the shadows writhing and stretching with each calculation of its movements. "You think this is a mere game, mortal? You are an intruder. You trespassed into my domain." With renewed resolve, fueled by adrenaline, Mark charged forward, the cleaver gleaming in the sparse light. "I won't," he began, but before he could finish, the creature recoiled, a grotesque smile splitting its face. "Then let's play," it hissed. The cleaver did meet flesh, but it was not the flesh of the creature. It slid through it, causing no wound, only a fading outline as the figure danced backward, almost liquid-like. In that moment, Mark felt the ground tremble beneath him, the cabin groaning as the very woods seemed to exhale under the weight of the creature's fury. "Foolishness!" it shrieked, its sound escalating past his eardrums to a place deep within where primal fear resided. Mark scrambled toward the door, shaking the paralysis off his limbs, pushing against it with every ounce of strength. But the door wouldn't budge. It felt like it was glued shut, kept by some unseen force. Wind howled outside, almost as if the forest was mocking him. Suddenly, shadows pooled around him as the creature closed in, an undeniable thickness coating his throat as it spoke. "This is beyond you. You will be one with the woods, eternal, lost," with a roar of desperation. Mark threw himself against the door, the weight of desperation knocking through his core. All at once, the door gave way, and he stumbled forward, tumbling into the frigid embrace of the night. The forest loomed around him, choked with shadows deeper than black. He turned, ready to run, but the trees themselves seemed to lean toward him, roots rising, branches stretching out. They were alive. They closed in, and the whispers returned, now laced with cackling laughter, reverberating through the air enveloping him. "Join us," the creature's voice echoed in the glade he just escaped. "You belong here now." And that's when Mark understood, with bone-deep certainty, he would never leave this place. The woods had claimed him as one of their own. He ran. But deep down, he knew he was nothing more than a lost echo in a darkened forest, the whispers of the trees celebrating his surrender. The cabin faded from view, but he could feel it. Those dark corners would perpetually shroud him, wrapping around his soul like a shackle, for as long as the forest remained. With every step, the laughter of the unseen echoed through the trees, and in his heart, he knew it was only the beginning of his nightmare.